collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class KSI Widow from the Transformers Studio series from Hasbro. Now, this is another one based on concept art. I guess they had done a bunch of different designs for what eventually became Stinger, and this is a female version of KSI. So this is from Transformers Age of Extinction. Looks pretty cool. I really like the orange. I think that looks really sharp. So some nice artwork of the robot mode and the vehicle mode here on the front. Close-up of that same robot mode artwork here on the side. And then on this side, the picture just kind of continues onto the side there, which looks pretty cool. You can actually see, you know, like the inside of the factory there, the car racing through. Not really anything going on the bottom. Up top, it just says Age of Extinction and KSI Widow. Over here on the back, some product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. So let's go ahead, let's get her out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. So here is KSI Widow out of the packaging. I think this is actually a really cool mold. It doesn't have too much kibble. It does have these kind of like door wings here on the back, but I kind of like it. It almost kind of reminds me of something like a Gundam or something would have on the back. And you can move them around, so they don't really get in the way of anything, which is nice. And, you know, like you won't have any problem moving the arms around, anything like that. And you can kind of pose them however you want. They do kind of hit into each other at a certain point, but I still think it looks really cool. I kind of like that. These pieces on the side are not the best, but you can kind of move them around, and I just try to line them up with the leg so they're not really in the way at all. And then the rest of the leg is pretty compact. Yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty cool little mold. Head sculpt is pretty neat. If we'll actually focus, maybe. There we go. Got kind of the like mechanical dreads thing going there. A little bit of yellow for the eyes. Otherwise, some nice metallic paint there for the rest of the head and the face. Looking pretty sharp. Got a little bit of orange here in the abdomen and the thighs. Articulation-wise, the head's on kind of a ball joint. You can kind of look up a little bit, look down a little bit. You can spin side to side, and surprisingly, like the dreads don't get in the way of the shoulder pads because the shoulder pads do kind of come up pretty high. You can kind of angle them down a little bit, but not a ton. But there's a little bit of movement there. But you do have a ball joint here in the shoulder. You can go all the way out to the side, move front and back. You are going to hit in a little bit, but I mean, you're already pretty much as far forward as you'd want to be before you start to hit into the shoulders there. Got a bicep swivel there, 90 degrees at the elbow. The hand and forearm are one solid piece, so there's nothing in the wrist. I don't believe there's any kind of waist swivel, but you do have a ball joint here. You can kick pretty far forward, pretty far back, pretty far out to the side. I feel like the knees are a little loose on mine, unfortunately, especially the thigh swivel here. You can see that's also really loose on mine. So I don't know if that's a QC thing or what. It's not a problem. She'll still stand, but just a little loose. You don't really have too much going on in terms of elbows because this piece is going to hit into the leg. Now, technically, you could move that back, and then you could get a little bit more out of the elbow. The knee. These are the knees. So you can move that piece back and get a little bit more out of the knee, but if you keep it together, it's going to hit in. I mean, that's almost 90, just not quite 90. You can move the feet up and down a little bit because of the transformation, but unfortunately there's no ankle tilt or any side to side, which is kind of a bummer. Because when I look at it, I feel like there almost could be. There's a lot going on here. As you can see, there's a lot of the car hood and roof, you know, accordioned in there. And because of that, you just kind of lose out on ankle tilt. But you kind of see what I mean. Like, the legs are just kind of floppy on mine. Especially this thigh swivel especially is really loose. Again, she'll still stand. It's not a problem. But it's just a bit unfortunate. But overall, I think this is pretty cool. I do like this mold. She has two accessories. She has these little guns. And these are actually kind of neat. So what they do is they just clip onto the arms here. And you can kind of see like the little indentation there on the forearm. And so you just bring this down and clip it on. And then you have these really cool arm-mounted blasters. And not that she comes with any other accessories, but she could hold them no problem. That doesn't like, you know, cover the hand or impede the hand at all. So I think that's kind of cool. And then the other one can do exactly the same here. So just clip this on. And I actually like that a lot. I think that's cool. Because it's kind of integrated into the arms, but it's not so massive that it looks out of place. It feels pretty streamlined. I think that's kind of neat. Now, if you, for whatever reason, do not want to clip these on to the forearms, you can store them on the back. If you lift up the doors here, there is a little slit right there. And then you can take this large tab and just go ahead and tab these right on here. Like so. And then one, you can store them there, but then it also kind of almost makes it like a jetpack. So you could kind of, now it really is like a Gundam, using these as like a jetpack or something and angling them for different, you know, heights, or if you want to go kind of straight, go like this. If you want to be lifting up, go like that. And that's kind of cool. I like that. I think it's a neat design. It works well. They store well. They attach to the arms really well. Just overall, it's a really cool little design. And I love the orange, a color we don't see in Transformers super frequently. So always happy to see a nice bright orange kind of used. Yeah, I really like this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I'm kind of over the Bayverse stuff, if I'm being honest, but this is kind of a fun little welcome surprise. So yeah, really neat, really good robot mode. So the transformation is actually pretty simple, but also kind of cool. We're going to start off by taking the little toes and pushing them into the leg, like so. The directions tell you to push these in, but I kind of feel like unless you have these like all the way out, they're pretty much already where they need to be. They don't really compress against the body a lot more than you would already have them normally. So that's that. You're going to come around to the back here and flip this open. This is going to pop out once. You want to kind of stop about here, because as you can see, this piece here will kind of hit into this bottom piece. So when you get to about here, start to flip this out, and then that'll let you go all the way down, then flip this all the way down, and then flip this all the way down. So now you have the hood, windshield, roof, and back window of the car all accordioned into the back of the leg there. Kind of neat. So we'll go ahead, keep flipping these all the way around, like so. And then before you push the two legs together, you can see that there are two little spots right here and here. And this is actually for weapons storage. So just like we pegged them in underneath the wings up here, they are going to peg in pretty snugly. And it's actually really nice storage. Now, unfortunately, you can't store them here in the robot mode because you need the rest of the roof to occupy this space. But really nicely and snugly pegs in there for storage in vehicle mode. The other thing is that you can't attach it after. You have to do it during the transformation, or otherwise you'll have to take it very much apart. But anyway, we can go ahead and sandwich this together, and then sandwich this together, and all of this. So line this all up. This is not cooperating. There we go. So that's pretty much the whole top of the car there. Next, we're going to take these little pieces here. We're going to pull them out. So pull them away from the body and then swivel them down until they connect on here. Now, you're probably going to have to straighten out the legs a little bit till you get the correct angle. But pop that, spin this around, click that into place. There we go. Then you want to kind of get the wings out of the way enough that this whole spine piece is actually going to unhook with the head attached and come backwards. And so now you can kind of get a better look at the ball joint for the head is kind of connected there, like at the back. And that's why you can get kind of the back tilt and the side to side. But this little peg here is going to peg in right here. So this is going to come down and click into place there. Then we're going to use these hinges here to bring the arms back and just kind of straighten them out, and they'll just kind of fit inside here. So bring them down as tight as you can. So when you're done, that all looks like that. There we go. At this point, you can straighten these pieces out and bring the doors all the way down. This will flip up, and then you can kind of line these up like so. And then I think you can figure out the rest. We're just going to drop this entire section down. Now, it is a little difficult. You can kind of see how that's hitting into that, but you just have to kind of push it to get it past that. And then that'll peg in there. This will all sit inside. So again, you just have to kind of move things around, fidget with it just a smidge, and everything should fit nicely. And then the last step is to just come back here and push down these sections. And there you go. There's KSI Widow in vehicle mode. So I think this looks pretty good. The back, I feel like, has a little bit of trouble holding together. Just like perfectly seamless, but it's not an issue. It's not going to fall apart or anything like that. But yeah, it's a good looking car. Got the headlights here. They're nicely painted. Got all that grille detail there on the front. I think the wheels are... No, they're pinned in there. I guess they're all pinned, which is nice. I thought maybe they were mushroom pegs, but yeah. And because of that, rolls pretty well. A little bit of gunmetal gray here on the side. Translucent plastic here with some silver around the edge. Got the back area here painted as well. Yeah, looks pretty good. Looks sharp. I like the design of the car. Pretty clean underneath. Yes, you do see the legs a little bit, but really a lot of the rest of the robot is hidden, so not too bad. It's a really cool little vehicle mode. I like it quite a bit. I really like KSI Widow a lot. Honestly, I was considering passing on this one just because I have no connection to the character, because obviously the character didn't make it into the movie. But I'm glad they went through with this one. I think it's a really cool mold. I really like the way the weapons attach to the arm. I also like the way they can store in the doors on the back to almost act as a jetpack. And I love the way they store in the legs during the transformation. I think all of that is very, very cool and very innovative. I really like the design of the legs. Kind of compresses all of the kibble into the back there, and it just kind of feels like it's part of... Like, it almost looks like you just snap these together and you're ready to go. Like, that's how nicely all of that other stuff accordions into the legs there. Not a lot of other kibble. Like I said, the doors here on the back, but I actually kind of like the way they look. I think that works really well. And it doesn't really feel like kibble. It feels like it's supposed to be part of the design. And especially when you store the weapons in there and it kind of uses as a jetpack, I think that works really well. Head sculpt's really neat. I love the articulation there. I love the fact that the dreads don't really get in the way of the articulation, because a lot of other characters that have similar head sculpts, that stuff can kind of get in the way and then you can't really move the head at all. You know, you still get a pretty great range of motion here with the head, even with that kind of unique hairstyle for the head sculpt. So yeah, all in all, don't really have too much to complain about. The only thing, like I said, kind of loose hips, and especially this one loose thigh swivel. Could just be mine. Hopefully it's just a QC issue and it's not a widespread problem. But even with it, I mean, like I said, she stands perfectly fine. It's not a huge problem. It's just kind of while you're handling the figure, some stuff might move around a little easily, but it's really not a huge deal. So yeah, I think this one's really neat. If you want to wait for a sale, I would assume that because this is not a super popular character, that this one might eventually go on sale. And if you could grab this for 15, even 20, I think it's a steal. I mean, if you want to get it right away and pay full price, I don't think you'll be discouraged or upset about it. But, you know, if you could get it for a deal, I think it's an absolute pickup. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.